For many parts across large areas of England and Wales and Northern Ireland, lots of sunshine by the afternoon. But we do have fresher air coming in, and so after 6 consecutive days with temperatures getting above 30 Celsius somewhere in the UK, I don't think that's going to happen on Friday. High 20s in the southeast, high teens or low to mid-20s for most other areas. Saturday starts off largely fine for most places, but more wet weather comes in from the west-northwest, mainly affecting Scotland and Northern Ireland, England and Wales, having a largely dry day. More changeable, unsettled weather to come through Sunday and into Monday, and a fresher feel to things as well. Bye-bye.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Are you dreaming of a ton of tax-free cash this summer? We want to make that dream come true with a stunning £76,543 and 21 pence in cash to spend however you like. Put a new car on the drive or just relax in the knowledge that this year we've got your back. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
The GB News audience is different, it's unique, because they see through the nonsense.
We want to debate with each other, we want to listen and maybe learn.
We have a chat. That's what we do. We try and have a chat.
They'll watch my programme while they're eating their tea, they'll watch breakfast while they're busy getting their kids ready for school.
We want to hear what matters to you, what is news for you.
And what's brought you out here today?
What are the biggest issues affecting this particular area? The audience are the best thing about GB News. They're friends, they're family. They're people who need to have their voices heard.
They're passionate about the channel, they're passionate about what they believe in.
The one thing about GB News is you get a chance to speak.
Talk to me about why so many people have gathered here today.
Do you want to say something back in return? The GB News audience is what makes GB News special.
It's incredible to see.
They shape our programmes, they shape our output and they shape our channel.
That's what makes us the fearless champion of Britain. Good evening, it's 9 o'clock. I'm Alex Armstrong, standing in for Patrick Christys. Tonight, Henry Novak drowned in his own blood, handcuffed by the police because they believed his murderer's lie that he was racist. Well, today, Vikram Digwa was found guilty of murdering the 18-year-old student, and the police attempted to issue an apology.
I'm sorry that Henry's life couldn't be saved that night, and I'm sorry that he was handcuffed and arrested in the moments before he lost consciousness. When his killer made that call to police, and he called the police, not the ambulance service, he lied on that call.
Yeah, will Angela Rayner and Keir Starmer be taking the knee for Henry Novak like they did for the criminal George Floyd? Or are they just shameless hypocrites, perhaps? Plus,
we used to have an unwritten social contract that each generation would do better than the last. That contract's being broken, and these young people, 1 million young people not in education, employment and training and rising, they're on the front line of that broken contract.
yes, the government's landmark report on the youth unemployment crisis claims migration is not fueling it. Are we being gaslit again? And
there's Helen Mirren, the avowed Zionist. She said Israel should last forever because of the Holocaust. And she was very happy.
yeah, that's legendary actress Dame Helen Mirren there, ambushed in the streets by a pro-Palestine activist simply for supporting the state of Israel. Also tonight, the Home Secretary's migrant deal with France hangs on by a thread after French activists are bringing forward a legal challenge indeed. And on my panel tonight, journalist and broadcaster Linda Jubilee, Tory peer Lord Bailey and former Labour advisor Matthew Larzer. Your Thursday night is starting here. The government gaslighting us again about migration, but first, your headlines with Aaron Armstrong.
Thank you very much indeed, Alex. Good evening to you. Our headlines. Police have apologised for arresting a dying teenager after his murderer lied about being the victim of a racist attack. 23-year-old Vikram Digwa was found guilty of murdering Henry Novak after stabbing him 5 times in Southampton last December. Digwa told police he was the victim of a racist attack, which led to Mr Novak being arrested and handcuffed and a delay in first aid being administered moments before he died from a wound to his heart.
Henry was the victim of this crime, and the fact that officers took several minutes to realise what had happened and to start to give Henry a first aid is something that I deeply regret. But they were operating with far less information than we have now, on the basis of lies, with a wound that was deep and internal, and where the bleeding, that significant bleeding, was not and could not have been immediately obvious to them, and where the pathologist has been clear that there's nothing they could have done that night that would have saved Henry's life.
The Prime Minister says the government will not allow a lost generation as he vowed to tackle youth unemployment. It follows a damning review led by former Labour Cabinet Minister Alan Milburn, who warned opportunities are shrinking for young people rather than growing. Official figures show there are now more than 1 million so-called NEETs, 16 to 24-year-olds who are not in employment, education or training, the highest level since 2013. Mr Milburn says the problem's getting worse.
Detachment is no longer temporary. For too many young people, it is becoming permanent. If the current trajectory continues, within 5 years, we forecast in this report that today's 1 in 8 young people who are NEET will climb to 1 in 6. We are at risk of a lost generation.
Reports in the US claim a deal has been reached between the US and Iran on extending the ceasefire and tackling some of Iran's nuclear ambitions. Reuters is reporting the two sides have agreed a memorandum of understanding to extend the truce for 60 days, to reopen the Strait of Hormuz and launch negotiations for a deal to bring an end to the war. Both sides, though, have accused each other of violating the ceasefire. Tehran targeted a US airbase in Kuwait earlier after Washington struck what it described as an Iranian drone operation near the Strait of Hormuz. Benjamin Netanyahu says he's ordered Israel's military to expand its control of the Gaza Strip to 70%. The Israeli Prime Minister made the announcement at a conference in the occupied West Bank in a move that would be in violation of a ceasefire agreed with Hamas last October, when it was agreed Israel would control 53% of the territory. Israel has continued to launch attacks against Hamas leaders, including a strike on a battalion commander on Wednesday. Medical officials say at least 10 people, including 5 children, were killed in the strike on a building in Gaza City. Thousands of people in Kent remain without water supply during the hot weather as storage reservoirs for the area reach a critical level. Residents in Whitstable have been queuing up at a bottled water collection point. South East Water say at least 8,000 customers are cut off still, and they're urging people to use water for essential purposes only, for drinking, washing and cooking, warning that supply may be intermittent over the weekend. And finally, some breaking news just to finish. A man has been jailed for 15 years over a terror plot to attack a Taylor Swift concert. That after a trial in Austria. More on that in our later bulletins.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more, or visit gbnews.com/truth.
27 migrants from outside of Europe are being hired for every one British young person. That's according to new analysis from the Centre for Social Justice. And yet today, it seems to me that Labour grandees have set out a report blaming them, the British kids, for not being able to get into jobs. The gaslighting by the far left and globalist ideologues continues, doesn't it? They want you to blame your children while they import millions of low-skilled migrants from outside our country, suppressing our wages, hemorrhaging our GDP per capita and taking jobs that should be going to your kids and your grandkids. While 1 million young Brits are described as NEETs, not in education, employment or training, costing taxpayers £125 billion a year, Milburn claims there's no evidence. Migration is a primary driver of this crisis. What a convenient blind spot for a report that refuses to face the numbers. Since 2020, employers have hired 27 young non-EU migrants for every single additional British youngster on their payroll. Non-EU workers under 25 have exploded by 355%, nearly 290,000 more, while British youngsters grew by a pathetic 0.3%. In the last year alone, young British payroll numbers actually fell. So this isn't a perfect storm of mental health, welfare traps, or the death of the Saturday job, as Milburn spins it. It's policy on steroids, isn't it? It's open borders delivering cheap, low-skilled, ready-to-work migrant labour straight into entry roles in retail, hospitality and care. The exact starter jobs British kids need to build experience and character. Just ask yourself, why are there so many first-generation migrants working in Tesco? And ask yourself, are they highly skilled people? Well, businesses admit it. Migrants are cheaper, more compliant, and don't come with the same regulatory costs or benefits traps. So while 730,000 young Brits aged 16 to 24 sit unemployed at 16.2% of the rate, the jobs that are used to launch careers are now being handed to migrants, aren't they? And I think Milburn's report buries this reality to protect the globalist ideology of mass, low-quality immigration. Our own children are trapped on benefits or gaming consoles while our government imports the new workforce. It's a betrayal, isn't it? It really is. It creates a lost generation of kids, idle, resentful and totally disconnected with society. Milburn talks about a moral crisis, but completely ignores the moral failure of prioritising foreign workers over British futures. And I say this, enough of the gaslighting. It's obvious to me that the Centre for Social Justice's data destroys Milburn's narrative, his blind eye on migration. Convenient, isn't it? Mass non-EU immigration is directly displacing young Brits from the first rung of the ladder. It is time a government put British youngsters first. Slash non-essential migration, deport anyone who's come here and lives on benefits or in social housing, and give jobs to British kids first. It's not hard. It's really not. Ends the cheap labour flooding into the country, force employers to recruit and train locals before looking abroad, reform welfare so it doesn't trap our kids while you're at it, and bring that bill down. So we're going to have to restore the principle that British jobs should go to British people first. They think it's rocket science. Let's get the thoughts of my panel. Journalist and broadcaster Linda Juby, Conservative peer Lord Bailey, and former Labour Party advisor Matthew Larser. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Evening.
Linda, I'll start with you. We're all anticipating this report to be quite a big show today, and we do know that there is a crisis of mental health in young people. We see those numbers rising. But when you then look at the other data that's been released alongside it, and you look at the net migration numbers of people coming into the country, is it any surprise that those entry-level jobs have now completely gone for young people? My first job was at Tesco, for example.
Well, so mine was in a hairdresser sweeping up hair. I was 13 years old on a Saturday morning. So, you know, those jobs don't exist anymore.
No.
And we have been waiting for Alan Milburn's report. I have particularly been waiting for it because I've got one of 3 children waiting to go into the jobs market. So, and I've been going on and on about NEETs on this air for months and months and months. And I think Alan Milburn's report is very, very good. It's very thorough. I agree with you that immigration has its role to play. It is part of this. But the problem is when some of those lower-level entry jobs come onto the market in terms of hospitality or care or hospitals, they are turned down or not applied for by certain members of of society in this country, and that is why hospitals and clinics and care homes take workers from the Philippines, because they are happy to do those jobs and we have not been. The other thing is that employers' costs are going up and up and up. There's national insurance, there's the minimum wage, there's lots of other things that are a disincentive for business, and of course that has its effect on the jobs market. And frankly, if you're an employer and you're confronted with someone with no work experience and a migrant who's come to this country who does have considerable experience, what are you going to do? You're going to take the more experienced person, and here's the rub, because you don't want to train anyone, and that is the problem in this country. We have gone on, and this is not just 2 years, this is 2 decades, we have gone on and on and on, not training people and not putting an investment in for what is the most important thing for any country, and that is its younger people. It's a total disgrace.
Yeah, I'll come to you in a second, Lord Bailey, but Matthew, I want to put this to you because there's many elements of the report that I agree with. There's many elements. I think the benefits bill for young people is just absolutely absurd at the moment. However, to say that there's no connection between mass migration, we all go to shops, right? We all go to supermarkets. Jobs that used to be filled by teenagers in Britain are now being filled by low-skilled migrants. It is there for everyone to see, and you can do the whole Orwellian thing and say, oh, don't believe what your ears and eyes are showing you, but we can all see it up and down the country.
Well, I'm not sure it is quite up and down the country. I think it's just certain parts up and down the country. I've just spent a fantastic 2 days in the northeast of England, and I can tell you that, you know, in the bars, restaurants and the Tesco, you know, in the centre of Newcastle, as well as, you know, I was all over Sunderland, Morpeth, you name it, and actually, you know, it was clearly local people were doing most of those jobs because that's an area which has lower migration and has lower employment, so therefore jobs are scarcer, people will do entry-level jobs. In London, absolutely, a lot of entry-level jobs are done by migrants. I have to say, I think one of the consequences of leaving the European Union was we had, because the decisions made, we had the so-called Boris wave, where we saw over 1 million people, a lot of whom were low-skilled, because we saw things like the care scheme visa, which meant it was easier, as Linda says, to get people from the Philippines, because sometimes, you know, particularly, I think, you know, it's not just the jobs in Tesco's or bars, it's actually, as you say, in the care industry, which is the care sector, which is hugely difficult work.
I agree with, by the way.
Which a lot of people wouldn't do those jobs, etc. So I don't think we've got the balance right. I think we haven't, as a society, again, as Linda says, for 20 or 30 years, we put too much emphasis on people going to university. Yes, we needed to get those numbers up, but we didn't need to get them up at the expense of people going through. And one of the great things about Alan's report is that he talks about how we should follow the example of countries like the Netherlands, where people at 16 go into vocational training, which sees jobs and work intertwined. So let's hope that there's huge change comes from this, because frankly, no party has got it right over the last quarter of a century.
What do you think, Lord Bailey?
I used to run a job club, and if people think that there's no relationship between migration and work, they're completely wrong. It might not be affecting your industry, but it affects how much all industries have to pay into the pot. Our welfare bill on every level, right from the triple lock to what we're giving teenagers who are suffering from anxiety, is ridiculous, and it needs to be adjusted. And I know it feels good to give people this money, but what it does on the background, it means we can't create the circumstances in which they could be employed. That's why NI has gone through the roof. For instance, the government needs to make the money somewhere, because it's spending it willy-nilly other places.
But
that's the first thing. The other thing as well, I want to slightly disagree with this notion that British people won't do these jobs. Many cases, they can't afford to do the job. That's the real thing, because a British person has real costs, cannot avoid the tax man, is not prepared to live in a particular style because we just haven't grown up that way, sharing bedrooms, whatever.
It's perfectly OK to demand good living circumstances and a good wage, right? That should be fair. But my opinion on this is that mass migration has suppressed those wages because you're willing to get cheap.
Listen, that's absolutely true, and it's been going on for some time. But what this report definitely does is tiptoe around what this current government is doing to make it worse. The workers' rights thing is going to destroy employment for young people. National insurance has already destroyed employment for young people, and raising the national minimum age for young people so high, it feels great when you're doing it, but it's the decision between a lower wage or no wage at all, and our young people now are being forced to have no wage at all.
Well, I just want to say, though, that it comes to something when we are spending £25, I think it's £25 per head on some benefits, and only £1 to go towards educational support. That's the ratio.
But let's be clear,
25 to 1.
What this government has done, they love an initiative, right? Alan Milburn even.
But that's appalling.
They love an initiative, YTS, blah blah blah. That's irrelevant. That doesn't help. If you're poor, you want work. You don't want endless training courses.
Absolutely, and they're not endless training courses.
I was at a job fair with a 16-year-old, and he absolutely let the Labour councillor had it, because he said, I've been on these training courses. My brother's on one as well. I want a job, not the training course my brother's on.
Yeah, but I'm talking about support.
No, ultimately, we've got to have an economy that provides jobs. The reason we can't follow the Netherlands is because we don't have the job at the end.
No, that's absolutely very, very true.
No, I agree.
Matthew, there's a lot of criticism. You know, there's a lot of praise for Milburn's report. There is also a lot of criticism.
It's only part one. There's part two to come.
Well, yeah, I look forward to it. Hopefully, he doesn't. You know, this whole he had me until he said, because you expect them to be having a real take on what's happening in Britain. When he said there's no connection between mass migration and kids not being able to get work, that's rubbish. It's just rubbish. And what it does is devalue everything else he's saying, because if you cannot look and look at the jobs market, look at who's filling the jobs, and tell me that data was accessible to us at GB News and the Centre of Social Policy. I can't remember the full name. So thank you very much. If we can do that data, so can he.
Yeah. Look, I think what he's saying is it's not a case of people coming from abroad and, quote, robbing our jobs. Sometimes, because we have people who for various reasons, because they may have certain problems, as you say, like low-level anxiety, which means they may need extra support into work, and that's what the schemes are about. That's what the job guarantee, the young people's job guarantee the government's introducing about, is to give people that taste of work. Because one of the big scandalous things in this report is how few people, young people, are now doing work experience, which means that they're not even getting 2 weeks while they're at school of a taste of work.
They made the law so difficult around work experience.
Absolutely,
and maybe that's free, right? When I was training to go into my work, I did loads of free work experience. It's kind of sort of illegal now.
I think it's about fairness, so people aren't exploited, because in this industry people used to be exploited, but also giving them a chance, and it's getting the balance right.
Get kids working. There's a bit of common sense here.
I think that's
trusted
key.
businesses. You can have trusted businesses that don't pay kids, who can't afford it, and it helps everybody.
And you know the other thing about all of this legislation, when we talk about work, so it kind of suggests that parents have no agency. If my child is doing work experience, I should be the person checking if they're exploited or not.
Absolutely.
And just because they're not being paid now, I'm thinking what they're going to put on their CV. Because when I used to run my job club, the toughest thing was, what do you fill your CV with?
Because the employers, my little brother's just been applied for 180 jobs, right? And he finally got his job. Really well done to him, right? But people kept asking him, what work experience did you have?
I know.
One of the good things
the irony is this week I've just started helping a young man get a week's work experience, because there's work experience week in June and July.
Oh, cool.
For different... It's different time frame for different schools, and I'm trying to help him get a toehold. Because I've said to him that it's about a CV. It's about building a CV, point one. Point two is it's about understanding the workplace. It's about committing to getting there on time.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think
sticking to a timetable, don't leave early, all these workability things.
Really briefly.
Just going to say, one of the things that I think is important in the report is that Alan Milburn isn't blaming the young people themselves. He's blaming the system, and including the responsibility not just of government but of businesses and schools.
Absolutely right. All right, look, time for the Great British Giveaway now. There's plenty of chance. Your chance to win, I guess, really, isn't it? Because I can't enter. Whopping 76 grand, £543, 21 pence, tax-free cash, just in time for summer. Here's all the details.
Are you dreaming of a ton of tax-free cash this summer? We want to make that dream come true with a stunning £76,543 and 21 pence in cash to spend however you like. That is extra cash that you could use to buy those treats you've always wanted, put a new car on the drive, or just relax in the knowledge that this year we've got your back. £76,543 and 21 pence is an incredible amount of money, and it could be all yours. For a chance to win £76,543 and 21 pence in tax-free cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yeah, coming up, we've got this, of course, harrowing case of Henry Novak.
I'm sorry that Henry's life couldn't be saved that night, and I'm sorry that he was handcuffed and arrested in the moments before he lost consciousness. When his killer made that call to police, and he called the police, not the ambulance service, he lied on that call.
Yeah, well, that was a grovelling apology to Henry Novak's family after a Sikh man was found guilty of murder today. Officers believed his killer's lies, handcuffing the 18-year-old as he bled to death on the floor next to him. His last words were, "I can't breathe." Will Angela Rayner and Keir Starmer be taking a knee for Henry Novak like they did for the criminal George Floyd, perhaps? Or are they shameless hypocrites? We're going to find out. But before that, do trans people really need access to an HMRC hotline, usually reserved for MPs and royals? That's next.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I just didn't realise I'm still on air. Yeah, welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight. Yeah, this is, of course, some of the footage there of Henry Novak before he was brutally murdered. 5 stab wounds by a Sikh man who was found guilty of his murder today. Officers believed his killer's lies about racism, and they handcuffed him. And the 18-year-old bled to death not long after that. His last words were, "I can't breathe." This story, by the way, it really says a lot about the state of our country. And I will be talking about this very, very important story later on in the show. But before that, this is insane, this story, unfortunately. Another insane story here. Do trans people really need access to an HMRC hotline, usually reserved for members of Parliament and royals? It's time for our head-to-head. Trans taxpayers have been granted lifetime access to a special HMRC hotline that up until now, of course, was reserved for the creme de la creme, our MPs and royal family. The special service, known as Public Department 1, a bit Orwellian, isn't it, offers a dedicated line for high-profile taxpayers and reportedly answers calls in half the time of the general customer service line. Isn't that nice? Which has an average wait time of more than 16 minutes. The last time I called them, it was 2 to 4 hours. I can't remember. It was pretty long. Anyway, those who legally change their gender are told to contact Public Department number 1 with tax or national insurance questions because their records are more restricted. Typically, only a select few officials can access them. So tonight I'm asking, is this privilege really necessary for trans people? We're going head-to-head on this now. Our Translucent founder, Steph Richards, and founding member of Women's Rights Network, Heather Binning. Good evening, both of you. Steph, I'll start with you. The reason why this story really caught my attention was because why does your gender play any role in your tax affairs?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me on, Patrick. I'm afraid I've immediately got to correct what you just said. It's not trans people. It's 97% of trans people have got ordinary tax status. 3% who's got a gender recognition certificate do, and that is so to maintain human rights as per Article 8 of the Human Rights Act. The equality, of the HRA. You seem to think it's a privilege. Well, as someone who has actually got a gender recognition certificate, I can absolutely tell you it's not. Because when you deal with PD1, it can be an absolute administrative nightmare because our accounts, my account, is locked down for security. And that means we actually lose access to basic automated digital services that are available to ordinary taxpayers, which you would take for granted. We would gladly trade queue times for a fully functional standard online account, but unfortunately the law requires this data security.
Right. OK. Well, I'll put this over to you, Heather. Steph, thanks for some clarity on the process there. Heather, do you think that the policy is fair?
No, I don't. But actually, I think what I have to say might align with part of what Steph said just now. I actually struggle to see why MPs should have this privileged position of being able to call this hotline. I'm intrigued to know why my personal details are not as important as Steph's personal details and these other people. But I think there's a big bypass going on here. I can understand why this might have been introduced when the Gender Recognition Act came into force, and there was this, worry about not letting information out. Let me say, your NI number that we're all issued when we're much younger never changes throughout your life. There is no sex marker on that. For 36 years now, tax bands have been the same for men and women, so it doesn't make any difference what sex you are.
Yeah,
it does not, therefore, make any difference whether you have a GRC or not. And by identifying people who, when somebody applies for a GRC, the HMRC is informed, and that marks somebody out as being different, as having something different. There's 10,000 GRCs issued. If they didn't have that marker, putting them in this little special box at the side, Steph and her fellow trans people would be treated absolutely the same as I and anybody else, and there would be no information there available to worry about being released to the public, because it's a name and it's an NI number, and that's it.
Yeah, Steph, do you concur with that? Do you feel that you just want to be like everyone else and wait on the phone to HMRC for 4 hours like I have to?
I mean, I kind of agree with Heather. This is pretty weird. This don't happen very often, does it, Heather? I mean, ultimately, everyone should be entitled to privacy as regards to their tax affairs, and everyone should be have the same sort of waiting times. And it really concerned me that, I mean, obviously I've got this issue that I don't have automated services, but, some people are apparently getting through to talk to staff quicker than others. And the real issue here is, in actual fact, funding, because HMRC only actually costs £6 billion a year to run. It's not very much money. If we introduced a wealth tax into this country, a 2.5% wealth tax, it would actually raise £36.6 billion. It would pay for HMRC 6 or 7 times over. And dare I say it, Patrick, I dare say it, your boss, Sir Paul Marshall's worth £875 million, so he can chip in, can't he?
Well, just to Steph, I'm not Patrick. Patrick isn't here tonight. I'm Alex, but
I know.
But obviously, I disagree with the wealth tax, because whatever you take off those wealthy people, they'll all leave. Then you're going to have to really figure out how you're going to fund the wealth tax when all the middle classes are paying extra for HMRC and everything else. But that's a whole different debate, isn't it? It's a whole different debate. Listen, both of you, thank you very much for coming on this evening. That's Steph Richards there and Heather Binney. Thanks for joining me on the show tonight. HMRC has insisted the policy was necessary because the records of transgender people required greater protection to ensure confidentiality under equality laws, indeed. A spokesperson added, PD1 is not a VIP service, but a helpline for taxpayers whose records require greater protection and therefore can only be accessed by specialist staff. This can be for a number of reasons. Call wait times on our helplines for all customers now average around 10 minutes. And by the way, if you are wondering about Patrick, he will be back tomorrow night for his audience show. Don't worry, he's OK, all right? Don't worry, Patrick is fine. He'll be back tomorrow night. Coming up...
I'm sorry that Henry's life couldn't be saved that night, and I'm sorry that he was handcuffed and arrested in the moments before he lost consciousness. When his killer made that call to police, and he called the police, not the ambulance service, he lied on that call.
All right, well, of course, police are issuing a grovelling apology to Henry Novak's family after a Sikh man was found guilty of his murder today. Officers believed his murderer's lies, handcuffed the 18-year-old as he was bleeding to death. His last words were, "I can't breathe." The heads need to roll. That's coming up shortly.
Be nice to escape the grey.
Clear skies, here we come.
As clear as our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there. Well, the hot weather's not just continuing across the UK, it's also continuing across western and central parts of Europe. Plenty of sunshine to go alongside that too. Temperatures widely in the high 20s, if not pushing into the low 30s across parts of Italy and many inland areas of Europe. Mostly dry with plenty of sunshine, though we could see the odd shower across parts of Italy and also Greece. The sunshine's here to stay over the weekend and into next week, alongside those high temperatures, widely pushing into the low 30s across Italy.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good evening. This is your GB News weather update from the Met Office. If you're feeling a bit fed up with the hot weather that we've had this week, the good news is things are set to turn a fair bit fresher as we head into the weekend. That's because the high pressure to the east of us, which has been dragging in hot air from the south, that's clearing away towards the east, allowing some frontal systems in the west to make their way in. These are then going to bring a bit more cloud, some outbreaks of rain across Northern Ireland and then also Scotland as we go overnight. Elsewhere, for much of England and Wales, it's looking largely dry, but perhaps a bit more cloud than we've seen through some recent nights. And with the cloud and still some very warm hot air, it is going to be another warm, sticky night for many of us. In the east, it could actually be a little bit warmer than last night, perhaps. It's also across the eastern parts of England where we have the brightest, sunniest skies tomorrow morning. Further west, a cloudier story, largely dry for much of England and Wales, but quite cloudy. A few outbreaks of rain through the morning for Northern Ireland. Most of these, though, will be clearing by the early afternoon. A wetter story for northern and western parts of Scotland. Some persistent, at times heavy rains and blustery winds here. Drier towards the east and the south of Scotland, but the rain will become a bit more widespread through the day. Across southern counties of England and more so towards the southeast later on, there will be some showery outbreaks of rain, but in between for many parts across large areas of England and Wales and Northern Ireland, lots of sunshine by the afternoon. But we do have fresher air coming in, and so after 6 consecutive days with temperatures getting above 30 Celsius somewhere in the UK, I don't think that's going to happen on Friday. High 20s in the southeast. High teens or low to mid-20s for most other areas. Saturday starts off largely fine for most places, but more wet weather comes in from the west-northwest, mainly affecting Scotland and Northern Ireland, England and Wales, having a largely dry day. More changeable, unsettled weather to come through Sunday and into Monday, and a fresher feel to things as well. Bye-bye.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight with me, Alex Armstrong. And police have apologised to the family of Henry Novak for how they treated him just moments before he died. The apology came after a Sikh man was found today guilty of murdering the 18-year-old university student after stabbing him with a ceremonial knife 5 times in Southampton last year. Well, that's Vikram Digwa, who claimed he acted in self-defence and that Henry Novak had racially abused him. When police arrived on the scene, they believe the 23-year-old's lies about racism handcuffed Henry Novak and placed him under arrest, despite his pleas. His final words were, "Please, brother, I can't breathe." Officers finally started first aid after Novak collapsed and lost consciousness, but he passed away shortly after. In a statement after the verdict today, temporary Deputy Chief Constable Robert France of Hampshire Constabulary apologised.
I'm sorry that Henry's life couldn't be saved that night, and I'm sorry that he was handcuffed and arrested in the moments before he lost consciousness. When his killer made that call to police, and he called the police, not the ambulance service, he lied on that call. He lied when police attended the scene. He continued to lie as Henry's condition deteriorated.
In the transcripts, obviously Henry's saying, I'm dying and I've been stabbed.
I don't know whether they heard him or not. What they didn't do was fully understand the situation that was happening in front of them. It is clear, and it is absolutely tragic, that it took them 3 minutes before they started to administer first aid. It is important, though, to say the pathologist has been clear there's nothing officers could have done which would have saved Henry's life.
Well, joining me now is former Conservative Police and Crime Commissioner Festus Akinbisoye. Festus, thank you very much for joining me this evening. I think we will focus on the police and crime side of this at the moment. The police here, because there's an investigation, an IPC investigation ongoing, but from what we understand from the courts, what the court heard over the course of this case, is that they seemingly just left this young lad to die because they seemingly took for his life. They didn't seem to really show much attention until he was, well, almost dead.
Yeah, my condolences go out to the family of Henry Novak, who at this point must be going through absolute hell.
Yeah.
They're never going to see, their loved one again, and especially the fact that he was the victim.
Yeah.
In this particular case. And look, Alex, I'm probably the most ardent advocate of policing in Britain.
Yeah.
I'm probably one of the biggest supporters of policing in this country. However, we cannot have a situation where our police officers, they're afraid of doing the right thing because the person who happens to be in the wrong or was of the wrong was white.
Yeah.
Was of a different color. And I don't think that is the right thing to do. We need to have a situation where police officers just do their job, irrespective of the colour of the skin of the individuals. And this just brings back memories of what happened in Nottingham as well, with the Valdo Calocane case. If you remember, the chap who went around murdering people, and the people who were responsible for protecting the public chose not to do their job because they were afraid of being called racist.
Yeah, and we've seen that in multiple other cases. The grooming gangs, for example, as well. That was seemingly, again, no full-on evidence yet, but testimony suggests that there was institutional cover-up by the police for sake of diversity and inclusion. You've seen the young lad there on the screen. They're just getting ready to go on a night out. He's checking his hair in the mirror as he's going. Just a normal kid. And I think it's... I mean, I've got strong opinions I'm going to share with the audience at 10 o'clock in 20 minutes, but it seems to me that there's becoming institutionalised racism against white kids at this point in time. And actually that the police and other authorities in Britain are actually turning a blind eye. We take the case of the Southport killer, whose name I won't repeat. Again, there was opportunities where the police could have arrested him when he was carrying a knife, and they didn't. And it starts to paint a picture of what's happening in Britain.
Our police must not be afraid of doing the right thing because the person in the wrong happens to be non-white.
Yeah.
Right? That can't be a standard we want to set. And it just fuels the narrative of two-tier policing. That there's one rule for one group of people, there's one group for another people. Look, I've been on the receiving end of, police powers, and I've been stopped and searched. Nothing was found on me, by the way, just making that clear, because I had nothing on me. But I support them doing their jobs.
Yeah.
And I've been in uniform as a special constable, and I've, had to do what I've had to do because that was necessity. The color of the skin of the person was absolutely relevant to me. One of my worries, and as somebody who's been, in that kind of hot seat as a police and crime commissioner, is that we're trying to solve one historic issue by creating another historic problems.
Yeah.
And the people who suffer the most are the frontline police officers around the country who are doing the very best they can. But I don't think anyone looking at this case will be saying, there's any kind of justification for what happened, because the fact of the matter is, an innocent man who was the victim has now lost his life.
What needs to change inside the police force? What do you think is driving all of this?
One of my big worries is that in British policing today, we have some element of groupthink about what they think people like me actually need. But the fact of the matter is, every black person that I know just want the police to go about doing their job. whether the person who is making my life miserable is black, white, Asian, just do your job.
Yeah.
And there seems to be a swinging of the pendulum way too far to the other extreme in dealing with
that. What's driving that pendulum swing? Is it DEI? Is it because the pendulum was swung so far the other way? We're now going that way.
I think it comes from a good place because the history of British policing with black people in some communities is very well documented from decades and decades and decades ago. However, what I think is happening now is this reaction to that. Of course, the murder of George Floyd really triggered something in the UK. I was a police and crime commissioner when that kicked off. But I think the balance in some ways has been lost. But at the same time, I'm just not sure if enough of those in power are saying, what does everybody actually want from their police?
Yeah.
They do not want this kind of approach where one community is treated differently to another.
Yeah.
We just want everybody to be fair. Yes.
They just want
that is it. That is it. And I think what has happened is that we've kind of swum too far to the other direction, and everybody is suffering as a result of that, whether it's knife crime, whether it is, what's happened at murders and things like that. Everybody's struggling as a result of that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Festus. Well, thank you very much for joining me on Patrick Christys tonight this evening. I know it's a very difficult case to talk about. I will be giving my personal opinion about this quite strongly, shall I say, in 15 minutes, because there's a lot to dig into here. I think it says a lot about modern Britain, a lot about our societies. A spokesman for the Independent Office for Police Conduct said this: "Our thoughts and sympathies are with Henry Novak's family and everyone affected by his death. We are independently investigating the contact Hampshire and Isle of Wight officers had with Mr Novak prior to his death on December the 4th, including the use of handcuffs by officers and the first aid provided. Our investigation, which began following a mandatory referral from the force that we received the same day, remains ongoing, and the officers involved are currently being treated as witnesses." OK, coming up, police issue a grovelling apology, as you know, about the Sikh man and this story that we've been talking about here. His last words, Henry Novak, were, "I can't breathe." Will Angela Rayner and Keir Starmer be taking a knee for Henry Novak like they did for George Floyd? Or are they shameless hypocrites? I'm going to give you my verdict on that in 15 minutes. But before that, the Home Secretary's migration deal with France is hanging on by a thread tonight after a legal challenge has arisen from French activists. I'm going to reveal all in just a few minutes.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Scotland has 790 offshore islands, with 103,000 islanders populating around 100 of them. For the people that live and work there, ferries are a lifeline. Businesses need to transport stock, attractions rely on tourists, and islanders board for the everyday necessities found only on the mainland. But island communities grow increasingly frustrated at frequent cancellations and unscheduled maintenance, pushing the Caledonian McBrain fleet to its limit. As election campaigning got underway, CalMac announced a third of its fleet was out of action.
We're off to Arran just to see how much these maintenance woes impact islander lives.
Alistair Dobson runs Arran Ice Cream. A fourth-generation dairy business recently awarded the Golden Scoop Award.
If the ferry doesn't run, everything stops. All the other islands will say they've got a big tourism industry. Arran surpasses them all. You're then pitching tourists against locals, against commerce, because everybody's trying to get the same ferry space.
When 2 Arran ferries were delivered 7 years late and £350 million over budget, just for them to enter into a never-ending cycle of repairs, well, frustration swelled into fury. Election party solutions come in all shapes and sizes. The SNP pledges a £10 million resilience fund and will give local islanders board representation at CalMac. Lib Dems want to initiate a 30-year procurement plan, while the Tories would consider procuring vessels from elsewhere. Reform has pledged a 10-year renewal plan, while Labour seeks to merge CalMac and CMAL into a new publicly owned agency. And the Greens seek to extend public ownership to more ferries, ending the tendering system.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight with me, Alex Armstrong. Of course, Patrick will be back with you all tomorrow. And moving on, a deportation centre announced under the terms of the Home Secretary's new migrant deal with France has been thrown into doubt after activists launched a legal challenge. Well, back in April, Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood announced that the French government had agreed to detain and deport illegal migrants before they reached Britain, with a new removal centre in Dunkirk to be opened by the end of 2026. But there are now massive question marks over that deportation centre after a French environmental group filed a lawsuit claiming that the building permit should be cancelled because the facility doesn't comply with local planning rules. Well, I'm now joined by French journalist Alexander Seal. Alexander, thank you very much for joining me. Yeah, tell us about this story, because this is part of the government's flagship plan to slow down the spread of illegal migrants crossing the Channel.
Yes, I think this story matters because it exposes the central weakness of the UK-France migrant deal. And increasingly, it becomes a political problem for the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood. Labour sold this agreement as a serious, practical alternative to the Conservatives' Rwanda policy. The argument was that instead of expensive symbolic gestures, Labour would work closely with France to create a functioning returns system that could actually stop channel crossings. But what we are now seeing is that the system is incredibly dependent on French cooperation at every single level, whereas to do with the police, infrastructure, planning law, courts, and political consent. So when the environmental activists in northern France launched legal action against a detention center linked to the scheme, this matters because they are targeting one of the key pieces of infrastructure needed to make the system work at scale. So, and politically, this is awkward for Mahmoud because Labour's entire argument was based on competence. They said they would replace conservative chaos with a more realistic European approach.
Yeah, and Alexander, is it by chance that it's environmental activists? Because environmental activists here in Britain seem to have pivoted slightly to things like Palestine and migration as well. They don't seem to just have one single issue anymore. They seem to be sort of a collective group. Tell us more about this group. Do you know much about them? Are they more of a political organisation that broadens out from just climate-related things?
Yes, it is a political group, but right now they are discovering the same underlying reality. For example, migration enforcement in modern Europe is legally complex, politically contested, and extremely difficult to implement quickly. I would not say this deal is dead overnight. Governments can overcome legal challenges, but every delay weakens deterrence, every setback damages credibility, and every obstacle reinforces public frustration, because deterrence only works if the system looks fast, certain, and enforceable. If migrants and smugglers instead see legal disputes, delayed infrastructure, and bureaucratic problems, the deterrent effects starts to weaken very quickly. And that is why this becomes a political test, not just for the government, but specifically for the Home Secretary's claim that Labour can be both tougher and more competent on migration.
Indeed. Well, thank you so much for joining me this evening to talk about this issue, Alexander. Thank you very much. A government spokesperson said France is committed to building this detention centre. The UK will only pay when the work is completed. All right, look, coming up, police have issued a grovelling apology to Henry Novak's family after a Sikh man was found guilty of his murder today. Officers believed the killer's lies about racism handcuffed the 18-year-old as he bled to death. His last words were, of course, "I can't breathe." Do you think Angela Rayner and Keir Starmer are going to be taking a picture like this for Henry Novak, like the same way they did for that criminal George Floyd in America? Or are they just shameless hypocrites? Plus, we've got a lot more on the show. I'll be talking to you in just a few moments' time, but we will be talking about this very issue of Henry Novak next.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening. This is your GB News weather update from the Met Office. If you're feeling a bit fed up with the hot weather that we've had this week, the good news is things are set to turn a fair bit fresher as we head into the weekend. That's because the high pressure to the east of us, which has been dragging in hot air from the south, that's clearing away towards the east, allowing some frontal systems in the west to make their way in. These are then going to bring a bit more cloud, some outbreaks of rain across Northern Ireland and then also Scotland as we go overnight. Elsewhere, for much of England and Wales, it's looking largely dry, but perhaps a bit more cloud than we've seen through some recent nights. And with the cloud and still some very warm, hot air, it is going to be another warm, sticky night for many of us. In the east, it could actually be a little bit warmer than last night, perhaps. It's also across the eastern parts of England where we have the brightest, sunniest skies tomorrow morning. Further west, a cloudier story, largely dry for much of England and Wales, but quite cloudy. A few outbreaks of rain through the morning for Northern Ireland. Most of these, though, will be clearing by the early afternoon. A wetter story for northern and western parts of Scotland. Some persistent, at times heavy rains and blustery winds here. Drier towards the east and the south of Scotland, but the rain will become a bit more widespread through the day. Across southern counties of England and more so towards the southeast later on, there will be some showery outbreaks of rain, but in between for many parts across large areas of England and Wales and Northern Ireland, lots of sunshine by the afternoon. But we do have fresher air coming in, and so after 6 consecutive days with temperatures getting above 30 Celsius somewhere in the UK, I don't think that's going to happen on Friday. High 20s in the southeast, high teens or low to mid-20s for most other areas. Saturday starts off largely fine for most places, but more wet weather comes in from the west-northwest, mainly affecting Scotland and Northern Ireland, England and Wales, having a largely dry day. More changeable, unsettled weather to come through Sunday and into Monday, and a fresher feel to things as well. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
£76,543 and 21 pence in tax-free cash could be yours this summer. That's totally tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. And remember, because it's totally tax-free cash, you'll get to keep every single penny. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there. With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it? We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show. It's not a bad brand. Yeah. Uncensored. Very, very, very easy tonight on the unpredictable. What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Good evening, it's 10 p.m. I'm Alex Armstrong standing in for Patrick Christys. Tonight, Henry Novak drowned in his own blood, handcuffed by the police because they believed his killer's cries of racism. Today, Vikram Digwa was found guilty of murdering the 18-year-old student, and the police have issued a grovelling apology.
I'm sorry that Henry's life couldn't be saved that night, and I'm sorry that he was handcuffed and arrested in the moments before he lost consciousness. When his killer made that call to police, and he called the police, not the ambulance service, he lied on that call.
Yeah, do you think Angela Rayner and Keir Starmer will be taking the knee for Henry Novak like they did for the criminal George Floyd, or are they shameless hypocrites? Plus,
there's Helen Mirren, the avowed Zionist. She said Israel should last forever because of the Holocaust, and she was very happy.
well, that's legendary actress Dame Helen Mirren there, who was ambushed in the street by a pro-Palestine activist, simply for supporting the state of Israel. I'll have all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages too. And breaking on the front page of The Eye, Burnham hits back at Blair and Starmer as he outlines plan to run Britain. And on my panel tonight, journalist and broadcaster Linda Jubilee, Tory peer Lord Bailey, and former Labour advisor Matthew Laza. Your Thursday night starts right here. Will Keir Starmer and Angela Rayner take the knee for Henry Novak? Next.
Thank you very much indeed, Alex. Good evening to you. Our top stories. A man's been found guilty of stabbing a university student to death with a large Sikh ceremonial knife. 23-year-old Vikram Digwa told police he was the victim of a racist attack after stabbing Henry Novak 5 times in Southampton last December. It led to officers arresting Mr Novak and putting him in handcuffs moments before he collapsed and died from a stab wound to the heart. An investigation into the officers' actions is underway.
I'm sorry that Henry's life couldn't be saved that night, and I'm sorry that he was handcuffed and arrested in the moments before he lost consciousness. When his killer made that call to police, and he called the police, not the ambulance service, he lied on that call. He lied when police attended the scene. He continued to lie as Henry's condition deteriorated. It is clear, and it is absolutely tragic, that it took them 3 minutes before they started to administer first aid. It is important, though, to say the pathologist has been clear there's nothing officers could have done which would have saved Henry's life.
An Austrian man's been jailed for 15 years for plotting a terror attack at a Taylor Swift concert in Vienna in 2024. The 21-year-old, named only as Baron A, in line with Austrian privacy laws, was accused of planning to use knives or homemade explosives to kill people at one of the singer's shows during her record-breaking Eras tour. The suspect was arrested after a tip-off from the CIA, but all 3 Austria dates were cancelled, leading to Swifties meeting in Vienna's Corneliusgasse, a street with a similar name to one of Swift's songs, Cornelia Street. The Prime Minister says the government will not allow a lost generation as he vowed to tackle youth unemployment. It followed a damning review led by the former Labour Cabinet Minister Alan Milburn. A Official figures show there are now more than 1 million so-called NEETs, 16 to 24-year-olds, not in education, employment or training. And the Prime Minister, who commissioned the review last year, says the government will back Mr Milburn's recommendations.
This is a long-standing, long-term problem. It's been going on for many years. It's complicated and complex, as Alan Milburn makes clear. There's no single thing that you can say that's the reason. So obviously we will now work with Alan on what more needs to be done.
Reports in the United States claim a deal has been reached between the US and Iran on extending the current ceasefire and curbing Iran's nuclear ambitions. Reuters reports the two sides have agreed on a memorandum of understanding. It would involve extending the truce for 60 days, reopening the Strait of Hormuz and launching negotiations for a final deal to end the war. It's understood to be on Donald Trump's desk, awaiting his approval. Both sides have accused each other of violating the ceasefire in recent days. And the former Scotland First Minister Nicola Sturgeon says she was deceived, misled and betrayed by her former husband Peter Murrell. It comes after Murrell admitted in court to embezzling hundreds of thousands of pounds from the SNP. In her first public appearance since he pleaded guilty on Monday, Ms Sturgeon added she'd been completely exonerated and totally cleared after a lengthy forensic police investigation, saying it's probably been the worst week of her life. And you're up to date with the GB News headlines. Now it is back to Alex.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Henry Novak, 18 years old, was stabbed to death by a Sikh man, Vikram Digwa, with a 21-inch ceremonial blade. He was stabbed 5 times. The details I'm about to share are distressing, but frankly, I am so frustrated and angry about this case, everyone needs to hear them. Henry drowned to death in his own blood as police handcuffed him because Digwa accused Henry Novak of racism. That claim has now been proven to be a lie. Digwa, of course, went on to stab Novak 5 times. Let me just repeat this. As Henry Novak told police officers that he couldn't breathe, he was handcuffed, all because police thought there was a claim of racism when there wasn't. The police prioritised hurty words claims over a boy dying on the floor next to them. Well, the Sikh murderer's mother, an Indian citizen pictured here, has also been convicted for removing the murder weapon from the scene of the crime. Right, well, she needs to be deported back to India, doesn't she? No ifs, no buts. We cannot allow foreign criminals to ever settle in this country, particularly one that's complicit in trying to cover up her evil son's murder. But back to the police for a second, because they have once again failed us, haven't they? All because of racism. Well, it seems to me the only racism in the police force these days is the institutional racism against white British people. How many Pakistani rape gangs have been covered up by the police for the sake of diversity? How many more terrorist attacks will slip through the net because of Islamophobia? How many more white boys will die because of fake accusations of racism? I am done with all of it. I really am furious. No Sikh person should be allowed to carry a knife in Britain. It is mad. I couldn't give a monkey's about your religion. We are either all equal under the law or we are not. These special religious exemption laws are not equality. They are giving minority groups elevated special status. Let me repeat. No religious minority groups, or any religious group, frankly, races or ethnicities, should ever be allowed a free pass to carry weapons in Britain. If you want to carry a knife for your religious reasons, then go to a country that allows it. We don't want that here in Britain. And yes, I am deeply intolerant of it. We need to be more intolerant of things that have no place in British society. Henry Novak didn't have to die. Left-wing obsession with multiculturalism let him die. It's another death on the altar of diversity and inclusion. And those police officers need to face serious consequences for their failure to do the bare minimum of their job. So for now, I'm waiting for the statues for Keir Starmer and Angela Rayner to take a knee for Henry, Instagram squares to be filled by left-wing activists with white pictures. But something tells me the left just don't care because he is white. Should we get the thoughts of my panel on this one? Journalist and broadcaster Linda Jubilee, Conservative peer Lord Bailey, and former Labour Party advisor Matthew Larser. Linda, this is just one of... I listed other cases and examples of things there because there's becoming a trend. Speaking to the former Police and Crime Commissioner earlier on Festus about this, and he's seeing it as well. The pendulum has swung in a completely other direction, right? It's swung in a direction where if someone who might be brown says, that guy's been racist, while that guy is dying, literally dying, they care more about that than they do about the kid on the floor who's clearly been handcuffed for whatever reason they handcuffed him, bonkers because he clearly wasn't a threat to him. They care more about the claim of racism.
The whole thing is a total mess. And let me say, I don't think that was a grovelling apology at all.
No, I don't either.
I think that was a carefully worded apology that was not much more than an expression of regret. That's point one. The point you raised in your monologue just then that was really, really worth it was this whole business of carrying a 21-inch ceremonial knife on the streets of Britain when we have knife crime that is endemic in this country and when we've got supermarkets volunteering to sell blades with rounded tips and still we allow a ceremonial knife because it's some sort of exemption, because it is something that's important to a particular ethnic group. That should never have happened.
No.
Then you've got this horrendous street-side situation where the guy doesn't call the... See, if he had been in any way innocent, which I think I can say now that he's been convicted, in any way innocent, he would have... The human thing to do would have been to call for an ambulance. He did not. He called for the police. The police get there, and then at that point, it's like a perfect storm. They behave in an utterly naive fashion... and the poor boy bleeds to death on the pavement. Now, I think we need to be careful that we remember the coroner or the autopsy recorded that he would have... that the police officers couldn't possibly have saved him from the hideous knife wound he sustained. But that was a perfect storm of events that led a family to now have a lifelong grief that they will perhaps never get over.
Yeah, Lord Bailey, it's harrowing. It's really upset people today. There's many people in Britain who feel the police no longer work for them. They work for the ideologies of the left.
Let's be very clear. People should be very upset about this, but it's the people who should be backing the police. What you see now is a culture where the police are responding to what they get rewarded for and what they get punished for. And all you have to do is say racism. Everybody panics because the police are punished so heavily in the press and by their political paymasters. Somebody needs to stand up to the police to change the culture. That culture is deeply embedded in the civil service, because ultimately they're the people who punish the police on behalf of politicians. Somebody needs to push back and say, you don't do this job on the front line. We're constantly called racist. We need to do our job first. And look, someone might actually believe the police are racist. They might actually be a racist in this situation. But their job is to keep us safe first. And they utterly failed here.
Yeah,
and here's the point from a policing point of view. The moment that boy said, I've been stabbed, the obvious question is where?
Yeah.
Where?
Yeah.
Even if you don't believe him, even if you think he's a lunatic, even if you think he's the most racist person in the world, where have you been stabbed? And when he said, well, here, he could have, you know, they would have seen he'd been stabbed.
Well, what we understand as well, that his shirt was ripped, that he had a cut on his face, so there was clearly evidence of some sort of violence, and the police still failed to do that job.
I will always try to support the police, but in this case I can't. That's poor policing. Where have you been stabbed, young man? In my back, my foot, my leg, and they would have looked. And what I didn't like about the police apology, I understand why it might be an issue. What I didn't like is when he said, and of course the coroner said that the police officers couldn't have saved him. That may be technically correct, but the police officers could have guaranteed he was comfortable. They could have made sure he didn't wear handcuffs.
Yeah, absolutely.
On the last moments he dies being seen as the criminal. I can't imagine.
His parents would be heartbroken forever, and the police could have avoided that. If we're going to give the police the authority, the least they can do is their basics training, and they failed in that in every single way possible.
Matthew, when George Floyd, who's an American, by the way, thousands of miles away, happened to also be a criminal, when he died, your Prime Minister and Angela Rayner, your former Deputy Prime Minister, took a knee. They took a knee for this kind of police behaviour. Where are they today?
Well, I'm not sure that taking the knee at that stage was the wisest thing to do, although everybody's doing it, from celebrities to the England football team. Perhaps it was a more complex situation than people out of goodwill and for the right reasons thought at the time. Look, the police got this tragically
But is
wrong.
it just not hip? Yeah, they did in this case. The hypocrisy is what stinks for people, Matthew, because when it's a white kid, we saw that same as that woman who was killed by a black man in America on the train, Ivanka. I can't remember her full name, unfortunately, but forgive me for that. There was nothing, absolutely nothing.
Absolutely, and look, and that mustn't be the case. Look, I think that we need to learn lessons from this, and the lesson is, look, we all know that there are horrific racially motivated crimes in this country. It is absolutely right that the police take racially motivated crimes seriously, but they need to take it seriously, but they need to take it with common sense. So that, first of all, their human instinct shouldn't be overridden to help the injured party, shouldn't be overridden by a desire they think that on the basis of one accusation that the injured party is wrong. And look, we all, we know now that what worries me is that we end up with the boy who cried wolf scenario, where people who falsely claim racism are actually, they're desensitising us to very serious cases of racism because they, when it's claimed and it isn't there, they're doing everybody a disservice. So frankly, in this case, I would hope that the false accusations of racism, which do everybody harm, especially people of colour who may be victims of future genuine incidents and attacks, I hope that's taken into account in the sentencing. It certainly should be.
Let me ask you about this. Should Sikhs be allowed to carry any form of knife with them, whether it be ceremonial or not?
Well, I mean, I think that generally the Sikh population has been a very patriotic and respectful population.
Yeah.
We haven't heard of many incidents like this. We obviously know that there were exemptions on motorcycle helmets as well. Clearly, I think it has to be looked at after this incident. It's probably the only incident of its kind. It could be any other sort of knife. So I wouldn't instantly work into banning it, but I think it needs to be looked at and reassessed. I think they need to be banned
from carrying 21-inch knives.
Yeah, I don't know how it was so long.
It was centimetres, but 21 centimetres. 21 centimetres, but it's still massive.
It's a ceremonial, like a ceremonial dagger.
Or whether there has to be,
even if it's blunt, it's dangerous. It probably makes more of a mess if it's blunt. Look, I am a practicing Christian. I understand the power and the reality of religion for people. But we're in a country where we now need to look at treating everybody the same.
Yes.
There's too many protected characteristics.
Yeah.
And if you're going to give that dispensation, where's mine?
Yes.
I will campaign for mine.
Yeah.
And we need to say to people, too many protected characteristics. We're going to have a look at these, and the basic is, can we keep everybody safe?
Yeah.
That should be the characteristic.
And it's not just about whether you are responsible with a knife. As we know, knives can be turned on people.
Yeah, that's why knives, it's got to be out.
Be taken off you,
A lot of young people are harmed with a knife. It's their own knife that they're stabbed with. The Sikh population in this country are largely law-abiding. But they're also part of this country, and we all should be treated the same.
And I think there'll be discussion within the Sikh community as well, because obviously British Sikhs will be absolutely horrified and shocked by this. And obviously, particularly because it's a religious symbol, it feels like a desecration as well as a tragedy.
I totally understand that. I actually completely concur with all of you here, because, listen, we are one country. We should all be equal under the law. One of the things that really winds me up is that we have been pandering so much to small little concessions here, exemption for you. A bicycle helmet is completely, that's your choice. That can kill you if you don't want to wear one, right? That's absolutely your fun. But when you're carrying something that can be used and turned on somebody, I don't care about the circumstances. I don't care what race, skin colour, religion or ethnicity you are. You are all treated the same, or nobody's treated the same.
That's exactly right. I mean, especially when we know that knife crime in this country has reached such proportions that we are being encouraged all the time to consider doing something about it. To make sure that children don't carry these weapons, to make sure that other people don't.
And every kitchen knife in a shop is in a block of plastic.
This will be a shock to the Sikh community.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've had very little to no contact with knife crime at all. Most Sikh men have carried their ceremonial dagger around, it's been fine. But Sikh men now have to place themselves in the context of all men in this country.
Yes.
That's the issue. My community's been devastated by knife crime.
All right, look, a spokesman for the Independent Office for Police Conduct said this: our thoughts and sympathies are with Henry Novak's family and everyone affected by his death. We are independently investigating the contact Hampshire and Isle of Wight officers had with Mr Novak prior to his death on December 4th, including the use of handcuffs by officers and the first aid provided. Our investigation, which began following the mandatory referral from the force that we received the same day, remains ongoing, and the officers involved are currently being treated as witnesses. And in a statement after the verdict today, Temporary Deputy Chief Constable Robert France of Hampshire Constabulary apologised to Henry Novak's family.
I'm sorry that Henry's life couldn't be saved that night, and I'm sorry that he was handcuffed and arrested in the moments before he lost consciousness. When his killer made that call to police, and he called the police, not the ambulance service, he lied on that call. He lied when police attended the scene. He continued to lie as Henry's condition deteriorated.
In the transcripts, obviously Henry's saying, I'm dying and I've been stabbed.
I don't know whether they heard him or not. What they didn't do was fully understand the situation that was happening in front of them. It is clear, and it is absolutely tragic, that it took them 3 minutes before they started to administer first aid. It is important, though, to say the pathologist has been clear. There's nothing officers could have done which would have saved Henry's life.
Yeah, Crime and Policing Minister Sarah Jones said, "This is a truly horrific case, and my thoughts are with Henry's family and friends. No verdict can undo the pain that they are living with, but I hope today's brings some small measure of justice. It's right that an IOPC investigation has been launched into actions of the police to get to the truth." All right, we'll be coming back very, very shortly with all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages, and breaking news on the front page of The Guardian. Labour plans a welfare shake-up as scale of youth jobs crisis has been revealed. But before that...
And there's Helen Mirren, the avowed Zionist. She said Israel should last forever because of the Holocaust. And she was very happy.
Legendary actress Dame Helen Mirren's been ambushed in the streets by pro-Palestine activists simply for supporting the state of Israel. That's next. No, we'll just wait for the cameras to go off and after.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
the late edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christys tonight, late edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, late edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Pat will be back tomorrow, by the way, if you're wondering. All of tomorrow's newspaper front pages are coming up shortly, but first, it's time for a Great British giveaway now. There's plenty of time to grab your chance at winning £76,543.21. Here's all the details.
Are you dreaming of a ton of tax-free cash this summer? We want to make that dream come true with a stunning £76,543.21 in cash to spend however you like. That is extra cash that you could use to buy those treats you've always wanted, put a new car on the drive, or just relax in the knowledge that this year we've got your back. £76,543.21 is an incredible amount of money, and it could be all yours. For a chance to win £76,543.21 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck, everybody. Right, look, in a horrifying ambush, legendary British actress Dame Helen Mirren was harassed by pro-Palestine an activist, wasn't he, as she walked down the street in London with her husband. Let's take a look.
There's Helen Mirren, the avowed Zionist. She said Israel should last forever because of the Holocaust. And she was very happy the Palestinian gone. You put the post up, you evil old bag. You're an evil Zionist and you as well.
What is wrong with these people? And what was her crime? Well, Dame Helen has, of course, been a long, outspoken supporter of Israel and has previously criticised boycotts of the country. The clip re-emerged on the same day as the British Museum postponed a Jewish Culture Month event after being informed that a large number of registered attendees were planning to disrupt it. Can you believe it? Well, joining me now is journalist Angela Epstein. Thank you very much for joining me this evening, Angela. There seems to be this ongoing attack. It makes me feel very sick that this constant feeling that Jews in this country and anyone who might have an opposing opinion to Palestine activists seems to be hounded in the streets, and you can't even have a month about the religion of Judaism because of these activists.
Yeah, I mean, these two things have happened in swift succession, the events you just mentioned. This was going to be the first ever launch of the first ever Jewish Culture Month. This was going to be a lecture at the British Museum, a publicly funded body which declared it could not guarantee the safety of those who wanted to attend a fairly benign lecture about the ancient lands of Judea and Israel because of the potential disruption that protesters have caused. And I see a complete connection between that and what happened with Helen Mirren today, because although the British Museum have sort of rode back a bit and said they're postponing it and it'll happen later in the month, the very idea that they knocked it off their timetable gives permission to every Jew hater, every so-called anti-Israel activist, who we know by the language they use and the hate marches that we see is naked anti-Semitism to a large extent. It gives them permission to carry on to disrupt, to verbally abuse somebody in the street, Helen Mirren, and verbally assault her for her views on Israel. She's been a long-standing, as you said, supporter of Israel. She has a great affection for the country. She first went there in 1967. She's played some very seminal Jewish roles, including Golda Meir. And what happens is when you have the craven, spineless, gutless flex response of the British Museum, because there's a suggestion of protest, and their immediate response is to say, well, we'll close this down for the moment, we'll postpone it, then you've got an erosion of our liberal democracy. You've got the slow cancelling of cultural life, of Jewish cultural life principally in this case. And who wants to live in a country like this? It's right out of the 1930s playbook.
No, you're absolutely right, Angela. That's what it feels like. Do you think if this was any other religion, that the response would have been the same? Or perhaps they would have said, do you know what? No, we'll get rid of these people and we'll double down on security. Because when you cancel these things, you just empower these groups. They've won, right? They've already won. And that's my problem with it all. So when you cancel events like this, you're just empowering these lobbies. Surely, if this was another religion, they would have gone, right, do you know what? We're going to double down. And you lot are racists or or whatever, anti-Semites or Islamophobes or whatever you want to call it, and would have carried on with the event.
Well, you're absolutely right. And there's two things that are going on here. I mean, I'm not a fan of competitive suffering. I think every ethnicity and religion and creed and colour is entitled to own their pain when they have problems in their communities, and there is racial behaviour there's racist behaviour towards them. But it does seem that there is a disproportionate amount of this kind of activity towards Jewish people. I mean, it's the old phrase that David Baddiel came up with, that Jews don't count. And I think part of it is that we're a peaceable, law-abiding community. We want to integrate. We want to be part of it. We want to contribute to society. There's an old joke that Jackie Mason, the comedian, made, is that nobody ever crossed the road when they saw 4 accountants walking towards them. We're not intimidating. We just want to get on and live peaceably. And the very fact that, I mean, the irony is that hate marches can go past synagogues and create parts of city centres that become no-go zones for Jews. And yet, if there's the slightest quibble about other groups, then the backlash would be enormous. But we seem to be fair game, and enough is enough. I mean, how many arson attacks, how many stabbings we saw on Golders Green Road, the synagogue where I got married in Manchester, we saw somebody was murdered just because they wanted to go to a place of worship. And what it will take is the so-called silent majority to not remain silent. In each of these incidences, when these horrible things have happened, I've had lots and lots of messages of support. This is still a country largely made up of decent people. A lot of your viewers will be decent people, but they need to say something and do something. I mean, we are a benign culture. And look at the elegant way that Helen Mirren responded. She didn't start screaming and shouting in retaliation. I know her husband used a few choice words, understandably, to defend his wife, but she just smiled very graciously. And that really, to me, epitomises the way Jewish culture approaches this kind of thing. We have no desire for a fist fight or to create antagonism. We just want to live peaceably. But as you say, somehow where the Jewish community is concerned, maybe because that's our default position, it is fair game and it has to stop.
Yeah. Totally agree with you, Angela. It's disgraceful what's going on in Britain at the moment. And thank you for coming on the show to talk about it tonight. I genuinely appreciate it. That's Angela Epstein, journalist there, joining me to talk about that very important story there. In a statement on their website, the British Museum said this: following discussions with organisers and security partners, a joint decision was taken to postpone the event to a later date when it can take place in an environment that properly safeguards both the audience experience and the integrity of the programme itself. This decision was made to protect the event, not to diminish it. We will continue to support Jewish Culture Month and remain committed to providing a space where history, culture and scholarship can be openly, respectfully and without disruption explored. Coming up, of course, we've got all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages, and breaking on the front page of The Guardian, Labour plans a welfare shake-up as scale of youth jobs crisis is revealed. That's next.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hello there. Well, the hot weather's not just continuing across the UK, it's also continuing across western and central parts of Europe. Plenty of sunshine to go alongside that too. Temperatures widely in the high 20s, if not pushing into the low 30s across parts of Italy and many inland areas of Europe. Mostly dry with plenty of sunshine, though we could see the odd shower across parts of Italy and also Greece. The sunshine's here to stay over the weekend and into next week, alongside those high temperatures, widely pushing into the low 30s across Italy.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Good evening. This is your GB News weather update from the Met Office. If you're feeling a bit fed up with the hot weather that we've had this week, the good news is things are set to turn a fair bit fresher as we head into the weekend. That's because the high pressure to the east of us, which has been dragging in hot air from the south, that's clearing away towards the east, allowing some frontal systems in the west to make their way in. These are then going to bring a bit more cloud, some outbreaks of rain across Northern Ireland and then also Scotland as we go overnight. Elsewhere, for much of England and Wales, it's looking largely dry, but perhaps a bit more cloud than we've seen seen through some recent nights. And with the cloud and still some very warm, hot air, it is going to be another warm, sticky night for many of us. In the east, it could actually be a little bit warmer than last night, perhaps. It's also across the eastern parts of England where we have the brightest, sunniest skies tomorrow morning. Further west, a cloudier story, largely dry for much of England and Wales, but quite cloudy. A few outbreaks of rain through the morning for Northern Ireland. Most of these, though, will be clearing by the early afternoon. A wetter story for northern and western parts of Scotland. Some persistent, at times heavy rains and blustery winds here. Drier towards the east and the south of Scotland, but the rain will become a bit more widespread through the day. Across southern counties of England and more so towards the southeast later on, there will be some showery outbreaks of rain, but in between for many parts across large areas of England and Wales and Northern Ireland, lots of sunshine by the afternoon. But we do have fresher air coming in, and so after 6 consecutive days with temperatures getting above 30 Celsius somewhere in the UK, I don't think that's going to happen on Friday. High 20s in the southeast. High teens or low to mid-20s for most other areas. Saturday starts off largely fine for most places, but more wet weather comes in from the west-northwest, mainly affecting Scotland and Northern Ireland, England and Wales, having a largely dry day. More changeable, unsettled weather to come through Sunday and into Monday, and a fresher feel to things as well. Bye-bye.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there. With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again. To start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Let's go to your front pages for tomorrow. The Guardian. Labour plans welfare shake-up as scale of youth jobs crisis revealed. The Telegraph. Prostate screening set to be rationed. The Express. Jewish people don't feel safe on British streets. The Metro. Behind Spars, jailed drug gang who loved the high life. All right, look, let's start with The Guardian, if you don't mind. Labour's plans to a welfare shake-up as scale of youth jobs crisis revealed. I mean, there is a welfare crisis, Lord Bailey, and it's been going on for a really long time. It's almost like this Milburn report was some sort of revelation.
But this shows you how out of touch the government are. Everybody knows about the scale of this.
Yeah.
And if you're serious about supporting the young people of this country, you don't give them training, you give them jobs. And if you want something more, you tax it less.
Yep.
They put a tax on jobs. No matter what initiative they provide, young people will not get employed until they remove those taxes. That's the first thing. And they backed away from the shake-up of welfare, right. So they're not going to lean into it now. We have a Prime Minister who has absolutely no authority, so how's he going to do that? And he was the one who talked about people being trapped on welfare. He has destroyed a generation by trapping them in the welfare trap.
Yeah, Matthew, because Lord Bailey's right, isn't he? You've tried welfare reform before, but the Prime Minister's political capital is at nil point, maybe minus. Quite frankly.
I think the Labour has a good track record over the years of welfare reform. I think the Blair government did a lot of it, which is why you've seen Blair expressing his frustrations. There was a lot of welfare to work, and there were real success stories. I think the government...
Which ones?
Back in the day.
Oh, sorry.
No, I meant under the Blair government. No, which is why he's expressed his frustration.
Yeah.
And obviously you need new policies for now because it's a different jobs market, young people face different challenges.
Yeah.
That's why he's expressed this thing. So I think it's a big challenge for all of the people who want to be the next Labour leader. If you're serious about the future of the country, Alan Milburn set out today, there's nothing progressive about leaving young people to life and benefit. It's up to all of those who want to replace Keir Starmer to set out what they would do, and they would actually bite the bullet, and they would have to be unpopular with some elements on the left of the party.
Linda?
I think that's a really important point. There is this, I think Nigel Farage did mention this, about collectivism.
Yeah.
You have to be collectively responsible now, because this is such a serious situation. But it's almost not party political. We need sensible voices from every part of the political
hold on a
spectrum.
second. Hold on a second. Nigel...
Hang on a minute, I'm going to finish
We've
first.
just got a little issue with your microphone, Linda. Let's just go back to Lord Bailey for a second, if that's all right.
Let's be clear. He cannot talk about collectivism if he wants to keep the triple lock. If you are serious about helping the finance of this country, particularly for young people, you're going to have to admit one of the biggest benefits, the triple lock, is going to have to be addressed.
Well, you're going to have to see what goes into his... I'm not saying I'm...
No, well, he said he's going to keep it.
Linda, just give us a second while we fix your... We're going to get someone to fix your microphone.
He said he's going to keep it.
But the triple... So there was a poll done recently. Triple lock is very popular with young people, actually. And this is...
Are you sure?
Yeah, no,
I find that very surprising.
Well, that was what... I think it was a YouGov poll that was done on it, actually. But I think the problem that people have with the triple lock is this, because there will be people writing in saying, absolutely not, we should not be touching people's... something that people have paid their entire lives for, right? Now, the problem with that is if you want to tackle that crisis, you have to tackle this first. You have to say there's migrants getting welfare, there's people coming to this country costing us billions and billions and billions of pounds. If you want to tackle and have serious economics, serious discussion about economics, surely you need to do that first.
My point is you need to do it all. You can't do one part of it.
Fine.
If you do one part of it, the whole programme falls down. That's why Keir Starmer I was upset when Keir Starmer went back on his welfare reforms because he articulated quite well the welfare trap and then he backed away from it for his own political well-being.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Matthew?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. I personally think the triple lock is probably... after this next election we'll have to go and we'll come to the end of its natural life, as it were. Still protecting our senior citizens, but just the absolute gold-platedness of the triple lock will have to go. But you have to do that alongside... We cannot have more people of that generation on welfare than any other European country. You know, sometimes we sit here and say that Europe's doing everything wrong. They're not. They're getting more young people into work.
I just think I know that they... I don't think anyone in their right minds is going to abandon the triple lock before the next election because they know it's going to lose so many votes. But the fact is we have to accept that it's not feasible going beyond that point. It really isn't.
I know that I'm not going to get my state pension, by the way. I have come to...
Even Sean and I aren't, and we're very old.
You might, but I do think that you're right. If you're going to do it, you need to tell the British public why you're going to do it and what it's going to save people and how you're going to give them the money back that they might have paid
you need to reward them.
How you're going to... Yes, you need to reward them for
it. Mental health is very real, but we reward people for very low level mental health. So it's been... People are developing that. They're leaning into it because it pays for them. If we're going to take these things away from the public, we have to give something back. All I'm saying about triple lock, I don't want to remove it with glee, but in order to give us a flexibility to do our finances, we have to attack everything, and a triple lock is part of that.
Yeah, and as long as you explain it carefully to people and you say, look, we are... Because there are plenty of grandparents in this country who are worried about their children and their grandchildren. If you explain to them that this is going to happen, but in fact the next generation down and the generation after that will be the beneficiaries, you're going to have to bite the bullet and get on with this, I think we will be successful. The problem is no one communicates anything.
Absolutely. It's an honest conversation. And that's what didn't happen over the winter fuel allowance, where actually the government probably ended up in the right place, taking it away from higher rate tax, the richer pensioners.
But they only
didn't have the
conversation.
Absolutely, they only ended up there. They didn't have that conversation.
Look, there's a story here on the front page of the Telegraph. I have to get to it, right, because it's hilarious in some ways. Nicola Sturgeon, she said, it's been the worst week of my life. Oh,
I'm glad you didn't try the accent there.
Poor Nicola, Linda.
Absolutely no sense of self-awareness, no possible understanding of how insensitive that remark is. So a husband has been found guilty of defrauding a political party of £400,000, lining his own pockets with an array of jewellery, luxury weapons, and luxury jewellery, and a £125,000 motorhome parked up outside the garden, which she then says, this is what she said, I didn't really notice all of this because we were both on high salaries, so I didn't really understand, what was anything wrong with having those things. So I know nothing. I mean, it is absolutely unforgivable.
I watched the guy who made the complaint because he was a Scottish nationalist and he was worried that the money was going, not towards Scottish nationalism. And at the bottom of this story is poor people, small people who gave their money over to a political party. There's two important things here. Firstly, it makes all politics or all politicians look bad. But secondly, it robs the public of power. Those people, I don't agree with Scottish nationalism, but I do agree with their right to campaign it and bring it to...
and donate.
Yeah, and donate. And that's what Nicola Sturgeon is...
Absolutely. And people, as you say, Sean, people lose faith in our politics. People feel that their £5 or £10 or £15 isn't going to go to pay for leaflets. It's paying for... The thing that got me was the luxury pencil sharpener.
Oh, I
which
saw
really
that.
got me.
Yeah.
You know, which would pay for leaflets for a ward was in fact going on a luxury
It's got the
pencil
whiff
sharpener.
of Marie Antoinette about it.
It really does, actually.
Let them have sharp
them
pencils.
chop with their own pencils.
It was a salt shaker. I saw a thing that said their salt and pepper shaker was £2,300.
My pencil sharpener cost 50p in a notable high street discount store.
The entire thing is absolutely beyond belief. The Jaguar SUV, the luxury ladder. I didn't know you could buy luxury ladders.
All of that pales the damage it has done to Nicola Sturgeon herself. Lots of people, in their opinion, they're quite perplexed that she's saying she didn't know. That's their opinion. That's an opinion a person could have. But I think it's damaged Nicola Sturgeon. Any legacy she's had,
wiped out.
I have to say, the BBC Radio did a fantastic little thing where they read out the list, but like in the Generation Game, those of us of a certain age can remember where they did it, where it was just on the conveyor belt, but absolutely deadpan. So it was just, which I thought was the highlight of my week so
Any
far.
cuddly toys?
No, almost. They'd be luxury if they were.
Well, Nicola Sturgeon has said this: I want to reiterate that I had no knowledge or suspicion whatsoever that personal items had been purchased using S&P funds. I was cleared of any wrongdoing after a lengthy and thorough investigation. In relation to many of the items in question, for example, expensive watches and games consoles, I was not aware of having been purchased at all. There you have it. Coming up, breaking news on the front page of The Times. Burnham backs state control in a blast at Tony Blair. It's all kicking off, isn't it, inside Labour? It's all imploding. That's coming up next.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
the Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christys tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
Colin, it's always an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. And of course, you're wearing your full Chelsea pensioner regalia. It's a resplendent sight. Colin Thackeray, 2/3 of young people don't even know what VE Day is. You know what it is. You lived through it. Tell the nation how important it is and your memories of that beautiful day.
Well, extremely important to remember and to continue to remember. It means obviously victory in Europe, and it was a great day because everybody was happy, and we all lived through 5 years of war, and it was a smashing time. And I'd rather hope that people will continue to do so.
Do you think the problem now, Colin, is we've got a younger generation who are taught badly, and they're taught often to be ashamed of British history. We talk about slavery, the evils of empire, yet we don't celebrate the genuine heroism of VE Day and people like yourself.
Yeah, it's a shame. 2 years ago, we were in Korea. We went across for a revisit, and I hadn't seen the place for 70 years. And it was extraordinary. The place the school was built up and the people were marvellous. And every child knows exactly when the war was there, what we were there for. And we were told, I was told by a 9-year-old, it never occurred to me, that look, if you didn't come, we would be living the same as North Korea. That's a shame, isn't it?
GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back, everybody. It's all imploding for the Labour Party. Let's have a look at the iPaper. Burnham hits back at Blair and Starmer as he outlines plan to run Britain. Yeah, he's already making moves, isn't he? The Times, Burnham backs state control in blast at Blair. The Daily Mail, decision that will condemn thousands to death. That is, of course, the prostate cancer decision, the treatment for it. We will talk about that a little bit later because it is important. The Daily Star, top boffs World Cup Ebola alert. Yeah, that's not great, is it? The Sun, it's all kicking off World Cup scam chaos. Happens every time, doesn't it, though? The Mirror, Flags Group founder charged with murder. And on the top there, you can see Susan Ball's got a new look. There you go. That's an interesting one. Anyway, look, should we talk about Burnham, Blair and Starmer and the now empty love affair inside the Labour Party? I mean, what ideology is it now? Is it... I mean, I just can't make sense of it, because Tony Blair, for once, is right. He's been right about net zero the last... I couldn't believe it. I was watching, I was going...
You're becoming a Blairite.
Well, I was agreeing with every word he was saying. I think he's becoming more of whatever I am.
He's becoming an Armstrongite.
Yeah, that's it.
First and foremost, Tony Blair should shut his mouth and keep out of it. I'm just expressing what Burnham's thinking now. Burnham's saying, why don't you just keep out of it, Tony? That's the first thing. Secondly, it sounds to me that Burnham's just going to continue Starmer's package.
Well, yeah.
Starmer has been very authoritarian, very centralist. He could get worse, I accept that, but it just seems like he's going to continue that. What I would want to hear from Burnham, particularly if I was a Labour Party member, I am not, is what you're going to do new.
Come on, Sean, cross that floor.
What are you going to do different? Don't just get in here and do what he did. Yeah. He failed. Do something new.
Yeah. Well, Matthew, this is the thing, isn't it? Because your party's sort of at war with itself. It's just where the Tories were at the end of their 14-year reign. You've only managed to do it in less than 2 years. Congratulations.
I know, it's been a very long 2 years for me. I can tell you. It feels a lot longer since we were all in the darts club on election night. An unforgettable evening. I have to say, I think that... what sort of doesn't depress me about this, that slightly cheers me, is that this is actually a debate about ideas. It is a debate about policy. It's about whether or not we should have net zero.
When you're in opposition.
Well, I think there was an argument about that. I think one thing that happened in British politics, which is really weird, is you had COVID, you had the Boris bounce, Boris was walking on water, and then suddenly... And therefore, you didn't have that kind of debate. It all became really about Boris the cake. Is there an alternative? Starmer looked, safe pair of hands, bang.
Yeah.
And we had the loveless majority.
Yeah.
And what you didn't have in the country, never mind within the Labour Party, is really a big debate about the future direction.
Yeah.
It just became about whether you want a safe pair of hands or not. And now we're having the policy debate. I agree, it should have been better earlier.
Yeah, but you can couch it in terms of we're having the policy debate live in real time. But actually... what should have happened is that Keir Starmer should at least have had the framework for a vision and therefore a strategy.
Totally.
A little bit earlier in the game.
People thought safe pair of hands... You remember the Ming vase strategy?
Yes.
If you're going to carry the Ming vase, at least you know the direction that you're carrying the Ming vase in. And I think what's disappointed people... I mean, he's launched Starmer's launched this... Never mind Burnham has launched this attack today on Blair and said defence of his own record with more of the same rhetoric. Yeah. And that appears about as tone-deaf as Nicola Sturgeon in terms of not realising that people are unhappy.
He should not have responded to the Tony Blair interview.
But he can't actually. Is it popular to slam Blair? Is he actually being quite smart and go? Because I mean, I think you're right, Lord Bailey. I think most people think, do you know what, Tony, your time was up, mate. Just be quiet.
Yeah, they think that in a brief and truncated way. Shut up, Tony. You're yesterday's man. But actually, I think the smart thing to do from a comms perspective is to ignore that interview.
Because you're now the Prime Minister and he's not.
You're the Prime Minister.
We go on. And that's for the policy debate. Keir Starmer had no policies then, and he has none now. And that gives Burnham a real clear run at it. He can say his ideas are not in opposition to anything. The only person with any ideas has been Kemi. She was roundly told off for having her policy debate. Turns out she did the right thing, and here we are. And Burnham should take this opportunity to lay out his wares, regardless of what Tony Blair or Keir Starmer...
I mean, Burnham will be
even
trying
if
to...
he's U-turned, 6 times in the past 2 weeks, perhaps?
Burnham. Yeah, but Burnham will also be trying to adjust himself from Blair to try and get in with voters who may be tempted to the left, people like the Greens nationally. And what he doesn't remember is, of course, that Burnham voted for the Iraq War. He was a massive Blairite, and in 2010 he was the most Blairite candidate in the leadership election, more Blairite than David Miliband. I voted for him.
What Burnham has to do, first off, is get on the side of the voters in Makerfield, because he can't do anything unless he's done that.
I said...
I'll stay away from by-elections.
The people of Makerfield have a very important decision to make.
Yeah. Well, can you all please be
Yes.
quiet about something that isn't meant to be happening while we're on live television? Right. Well, look, talking of that, though, because, look, I guess the other story that we will touch on, because we did speak about it at the top of 10 o'clock tonight, is also on the front page of the Daily Mail, which is the way police treated Henry Novak. This guy, you know, it's so tragic, died thinking he was a racist, basically. You know, this is what the police allowed to happen. In handcuffs, bleeding out on the floor. Just shocking. I have to say, I'm furious about it, Linda.
Do you know what? It's also a tale of two mothers. There is the mother that must know that her son, in his dying moments...
Oh, I'm sorry, Linda. We've got to read the list off of people standing for the by-election. Sorry to interrupt you. Of course, the Makerfield by-election will take place on the 18th of June, following the resignation of Labour MP Josh Simons. The candidates are Andy Burnham for the Labour Party, Alan Howlin Lord Hope, the official monster-raving loony party, Robert Kenyon for Reform UK, Rebecca Shepherd for Restore Britain, Michael Winstanley for the Conservative Party, Jake Austin, the Liberal Democrats, Dan Clark, the Libertarian Party, Peter Mark Ward, the Rejoin EU Party, Sarah Wakefield, the Green Party, Ed Gemmell, the Climate Party, Robert Pownall, an independent, Protect the Wild, John Alfred Dyer, independent, Paul Richard Gould, independent, and Count Binface Party. All right, look, don't go anywhere. We've got loads more news coming up for you, but first we'll get you weather.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening. This is your GB News weather update from the Met Office. If you're feeling a bit fed up with the hot weather that we've had this week, the good news is things are set to turn a fair bit fresher as we head into the weekend. That's because the high pressure to the east of us, which has been dragging in hot air from the south, that's clearing away towards the east, allowing some frontal systems in the west to make their way in. These are then going to bring a bit more cloud, some outbreaks of rain across Northern Ireland and then also Scotland as we go overnight. Elsewhere, for much of England and Wales, it's looking largely dry, but perhaps a bit more cloud than we've seen through some recent nights. And with the cloud and still some very warm, hot air, it is going to be another warm, sticky night for many of us. In the east, it could actually be a little bit warmer than last night, perhaps. It's also across the eastern parts of England where we have the brightest, sunniest skies tomorrow morning. Further west, a cloudier story, largely dry for much of England and Wales, but quite cloudy. A few outbreaks of rain through the morning for Northern Ireland. Most of these, though, will be clearing by the early afternoon. A wetter story for northern and western parts of Scotland. Some persistent, at times heavy rains and blustery winds here. Drier towards the east and the south of Scotland, but the rain will become a bit more widespread through the day. Across southern counties of England and more so towards the southeast later on, there will be some showery outbreaks of rain, but in between for many parts across large areas of England and Wales and Northern Ireland, lots of sunshine by the afternoon. But we do have fresher air coming in, and so after